What if I told you with one action, you could have the habits of an experienced writer instantly? We all know cultivating the habits of a writer can be and are hard. I mean, it takes 30 days to form a habit. Lies! Actually takes 18 to 254 days to form a habit, with the average being 66 days. But what if you could bypass all that hard work and have it like that? All you have to do is use my secret of identity shifting. A single action and you'll have the habits of a writer now. In this video, I'm going to explain what identity shifting is, what identity to shift into, and 7 tips to help reinforce that identity. What up, interwebs? I'm Tim Green, your dedicated writing mentor, here to guide you on your writing journey. If you go on to enjoy this video, I'd love it if you smash that like button as a prayer to the holy algorithm that helps support this channel. Now let's get started. We're going to get to what you want to know, what identity to shift to. The identity you're going to shift into.
Come on, you know where it is.
Say it with me. I'm someone who writes. That's it. Say it again. I'm someone who writes. And again. Don't stop. Make it pop. Keep saying it until you see the sunlight. Oh, sorry. Kesha's TikTok lyrics popped in. Never mind. Keep going. Keep saying it. Say it until you mean it. No, this is not an affirmation. This is fact. I'm someone who writes. When you meet someone new and they ask you, what do? You say, I write.
And then they look at you weird.
By adapting the mindset and identity of a writer, you align your actions and thoughts of that of a more experienced writer, making the writing process easier and more natural. This is called identity shifting. So now is a good time to go over what identity shifting is. Identity shifting is about intentionally adopting and embodying different roles or identities that resonate with you. For an example, if you want to identify as a writer, you would embrace the mindset of a writer, develop writing habits, and seek opportunities to improve your skills. I love that embrace the mindset of a writer. It's just so good. It's so true. It's what you're doing. Think of it this way. When forming habits with identity shifting, there is no try. It's because you see yourself as someone who already has the habits. Let me give you an example. You got Sally, who struggled with weight loss her entire life. All of a sudden, Sally's in good shape. Great shape. Actually, the best shape you've ever seen her in. When you ask her about it, she says, well, those who are in great shape work out every day. So that's what she did, even if it was only for 15 minutes. The important part was showing up and doing something. Perfect example. But let's look at this from what it's like when you shift into someone who writes. I'm going to share my story of when I shifted into someone who writes. For years, I never thought I could write a novel. I could just never figure out or had the patience to flesh something out that long. Then I had my idea for my first novel, Legend of the Godchild. I quickly proved myself wrong because I fleshed out a full novel with chapter summaries. That's when I realized I could do this. That's when I identified as someone who writes novels. So I started writing. Not just writing, but studying the craft of writing. Everything that entails to be a writer was easier because I saw myself as that already. And within a year, I had my first draft of my novel done. Just because you have shifted your identity doesn't mean your identity is solidified. You must take immediate action to reinforce the identity and make it a part of you. So now I'm going to give you 4 tips on how to cement the identity once you shifted to someone who writes. But first, don't assume because you're embodying that of a writer, you will not face struggles. You will. Don't believe me? Just go read Stephen King on writing. He talks about struggling a lot in there, especially when he wrote The Stand. It's okay to have down days or even question what you're doing. Just don't stay there. A professional writer is an amateur who didn't quit. Now that the warning is out of the way, I'm going to give you those 4 tips about how to cement your new identity as someone who writes. Any kind of step you do each day that a writer does, regardless if it's big or small, is great. It doesn't matter if you wrote for 2 hours or 90 seconds between a phone call. The important thing is that you did something. Sometimes you have to start small to go big. That 90-second phone call is a real thing. Author Chris Fox did this when he got serious about his writing. At the time, he worked for a help desk, and when a call ended, the next one did not come through for 90 seconds. During that 90 seconds, he would switch his screen over and write. Now, if Chris did about 50 phone calls in a day, that equals to an hour and 15 minutes of writing. So be sure to do something writing related every day, regardless of how big or small it is. You need to schedule it. I absolutely do not care how packed your schedule is. You need to know that the time you're going to write. Setting a specific time for writing increases the likelihood of follow through. Once you have it, set a reminder. This can be on all your devices or visual cues around the house. Just because you identify as a writer doesn't mean you won't forget. Plus, when you see that reminder, it serves as a motivational trigger. It reinforces your identity as a writer and your commitment to your craft. Now, if your schedule is super packed, you need to find pockets where you can squeeze in some writing time. Look at Chris Fox. He figured out that during that 90-second window, instead of being on Facebook on his phone, he could be writing. He mentally scheduled it for that 90-second window, but not knowing exactly how long each phone call was, he just know when it ended, he wrote. And he set a reminder to switch over his screen to do that. Now, recently, I shifted my identity to someone who journals. And the first thing I did was set a reminder to journal at 7 p.m. This is an hour after I get home from work, giving me time to eat before I reflect. You might find yourself in line to pick up your kids at school. Instead of endlessly scrolling on Instagram, set a reminder to pop up when you reach the school. This way, when you see it on your phone, you can pull out a notebook instead to brainstorm ideas or indulge in reading a book on writing. Remember, what matters most is consistent action. While it is ideal to have a specific time and place to write, this will naturally happen over time. People naturally find ways to make time for things important to them. You want to make it as easy as possible. So all you have to do is sit down and start writing. Preparing your workstation beforehand can do that. Before you go to work, turn your computer on, open the manuscript. This way, when you come home, all you have to do is sit down and start typing, instead of turning the computer on and opening up the document. This reduces friction to getting started and leads us seamlessly into writing time. Anything you can do to limit the number of steps and obstacles is only a benefit to helping you achieve your writing goals. After my shift as to someone who journals, I started leaving my journal on my desk with a pen. When that reminder popped up, I would turn to my journal, open to the next page for the entry, and start journaling. Not just that, but every time I returned to the right to grab a tissue, use the mouse, I'd see it. It's there now. This just reinforced what I would do when that reminder pops up and made it easier to make it part of my daily routine. Setting firm goals is essential for anyone who wants to accomplish anything. And as someone who writes, you're no different. Whether your writing goal is to write 7 days a week or just one day, the key is to establish a clear commitment. The duration of the writing sessions can be from 30 seconds to 8 hours. You can commit to reading a book on writing this month, or on your drive to and from work. Track your activities throughout your day so you can find time when you can slip into some writing instead of being on Instagram. You now know what identity shifting is, the identity to shift into, the 4 tips to cement the identity once you've shifted. Now the ball is in your court, so shift your identity. Again, if you like this video, smash the like button. It helps with the holy YouTube algorithm. And I'm gonna put 2 videos on screen that I think will help you out. And I'll see you there. Thank you for watching. Bye.